I hated chemistry lessons at school. There were far too many complicated formulas. The car industry, actually, to get success, is a bit like chemistry, passing it at school. You need to have the right formula. And this incredible machine is Seat's magic formula for the future. This car has the absolute minimum in here. It's just the way you expect a sports car to be, a true sports car. It's raw, there's bare metal. It gives you the instant feeling that you're about to enjoy a riot of driving, and it doesn't disappoint. In front of us, main dials, we've simply got a rev counter with a digital speedometer either side, like two little eyes around a nose. You've got the fuel gauge, temperature gauge, and that is basically all you need for information. This is where all the flashy bit goes. We've got a 6-speed sequential sports box, just like the British Touring Championship. You've also got the added thing, if you don't want to go down there, Tiptronic little paddles for going up and down, tucked in behind the back of the steering wheel. So you've got instant access, you never leave the wheel. Look down the bottom and it's almost like your very first Meccano set. You know, there's like little legs everywhere, little frame bits down the bottom. It's wonderfully simplistic. The formula looks, feels, and is all about real fun. It's about having an absolute hoot. I have to admit, I felt a bit of an imposter when I got in here, because apparently this is the ultimate new fashion statement for trendies. And I thought, as I am just slightly the other side of 40, maybe was I too old for this? But what the bloody hell? You don't have to be any age to enjoy yourself, and every minute I spend in this wonderful machine, I think I'm getting younger. And you know something? I actually feel as if I'm about to just do one of those marvelously nutty things, like I want to swivel my cap round and say, let's move! The formula's powered by a 2-litre mid-engine, but it's no ordinary 2-litre. It's a turbo based on Seat's World Rally 2-litre unit. In straight figures, it produces 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds and a top speed in excess of 140. One of the reasons for its turn of pace is the fact that it's got an aluminium body, which makes it amazingly slimline. Although it's currently only a show concept car, albeit a very expensive one, it cost over £1 million to make. There is no doubt that Seat are considering seriously whether or not to put the car into production. My advice to them would be, do it. It's one of the freshest designs I've seen for years, and it's an undoubted winner. Alfa Romeo have succeeded for so long because they've always managed to come up with highly individualistic sports cars. Cars that had the big D factor, D for desirability. Well, the Seat formula is to me the first concrete evidence that Seat have got all the right credentials to seriously take on Alfa Romeo as the Spanish equivalent. This car should make Alfa Romeo and any other car manufacturer take Seat very, very seriously indeed.
Try, if you will, to categorise Honda as a car manufacturer. What do they specialise in making? Look around and you might think it's small and rather faceless family hatchbacks. But then again, they do make the Integra and now the Accord Type R, both full-on nutter machines. But there is a common factor here. Honda cars are discreet. It's not until you drive the Integra Type R do you realise what it's all about. Look at it and it's just an ordinary hatch with a spoiler stuck on the back. And then there's the NSX, a car that takes being understated to the point of being, well, not very funny at all, really. Who wants to have a supercar that can outgun a Ferrari but looks like a Honda? And now it looks as though Honda's new baby is about to do to the 2-seater roadster market what the NSX did to the supercar market. Nothing. The Honda S2000 isn't about to set anyone's knees a-trembling on looks alone. An MX-5 is cuter, a Porsche Boxster more beautiful, and a BMW Z3 more sort of snarly. But it does have something. The metal looks like fabric stretched tautly over shapes, defined by this big boxy grille at the front, these slanty headlights and these big bulgy wheel arches. It's distinctive, but understated. Honda, it seems, have taken the concept of the small two-seater roadster and they've got all sensible about it. They've tried to make it work as a car. They wanted to keep to a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine because it's light and compact, and thanks to the VTEC system, very high revving. Also, being so compact, that means Honda could mount it a long way back under that long bonnet at the front, and that gives it the 50-50 weight distribution that fans of mid-engine supercars will tell you is what driving pleasure is all about. So we have here a rear-wheel driven 2-seater open-top roadster with a 50-50 weight distribution and an engine that will happily rev to 9,000. Well, you just know it's got to be fun. And then they get really clever. By a combination of technical virtuosity and, I suspect, voodoo, Honda have managed to squeeze an incredible 240 brake horsepower out of that 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. Come on, chaps. That really isn't playing the game. I mean, a chap could hurt himself. Isn't that rather missing the point, though? We should know we're British and we've been blatting around in little 2-seaters for decades. And we know that they should be cramped, unreliable and outpaced by large family cars, but always beautiful and dashing. So what's all this talk of reliability, performance, handling? Come on, chaps, play the game. Mazda may have made their MX-5 indestructible, but it's certainly not overpowerful. And the Z3 in anything other than M-Tech form is just pure pose value. Honda then have decided to make their baby 2-seater work in all departments. And then there's the price. Well, like anything else, the 2-seater Roadster has gone up in price over the years. From being just a thing for a young gadabout to be seen spinning around town, it's become a plaything for the fat 50-something corporate gladiators to escape in at the weekend. At a shade under 28 grand, the S2000 is about 6,000 cheaper than your Porsche Boxster, but it outperforms it. People regularly spec up their Z3s until they cost around this, and the only ones cheaper are the Mazda MX-5 and Fiat Barchetta, neither of which are even in the same league when it comes to performance. Perhaps the only disappointment for the S2000 is the interior, which once you get past the racy red leather sports seats and the extra deep transmission tunnel, which does give the car extra stiffness, it's all a bit bland really. Some of the switchgear, though very sturdy, is a little on the flaky side, and I'm still not a big fan of the digital dash. And that exterior, I've come to like it. It's taut, purposeful and stylish, and I'm sorry for saying that it wasn't. It may take a while to realise it, but I think it looks fantastic. But it is very comfortable in here. And like the rest of the car, it feels very substantial and very well put together. But it's not for sitting around and gawping at. The idea is you're supposed to take it out, drive it, enjoy it, drive it quite fast. Now, hold on a minute. I've found a fault. Everything is not rosy after all, and it's this. You've pulled up to some beauty spot with a lady in your life, look out at the view, and the moment arrives and you lean across, darling, I wonder if I might steal a kiss, and is it me or is it raining? Oh, it's the headlamp washer, the buttons, and you... It's not cool. It's not cool at all. Quite embarrassing. There is passion in the S2000, and it starts here with this button. It's big, it's red, and as it says, it starts the engine, and it's absolute proof that Honda are just a little bit proud of what they've done with this car. And justifiably so. They've taken the concept of the small two-seater roadster by the scruff of the neck and shaken it till its goggles fell off. They've produced a car that is tauter, stronger and faster than anything else in the class, and it does it all for less than anything else in the class. It still may not be a cheap toy, but it's a damn good one.
Here at the Weybridge factory, they're still building around 15 super blowers a year by the time-honoured craftsmanship, hand assembly and hand building methods. But at AC, the emphasis has switched very much to the new car, the Ace, the car that broke the company. It's a lovely looking car. It reminds me a bit of the AC 427 Frau convertible from the 60s. All the extras you'd expect for a car in this price range, feels well screwed together too, and it gives enough go. Now can't you just imagine yourself cruising down the seafront at Nice in this car? It's exactly the right image, it's the right sort of weather. Just take me to the ferry. Mind you, this is no boulevard cruiser. This car is fitted with the superblower engine we saw in the Cobra. You can have it in unsupercharged 5-litre form, or you can have it in 4.6 quad cam, the smoothest V8 around, which is designed for the new Mustang. And if you want to use it, the performance is there. 0 to 60 again, round about 5 seconds, maximum speed governed to 155 miles an hour. Back in the 1950s, when most cars on Britain's roads were of the Ford Pop or Morris Minor level of performance, AC Cars, one of Britain's oldest car manufacturers, came out with a jaw-droppingly beautiful sports car called the Ace, capable of 100 miles an hour. Now, the story of how Carroll Shelby subsequently shoehorned a fire-breathing Ford V8 into the chassis and created the brutal Cobra is the stuff of motoring legend. It's pretty much the mixture as before. Oh, I'm getting old. Take a big Ford V8, in this case the 5-litre supercharged 320 brake horsepower unit, slotted into the same old body and chassis, make it meet modern emission, noise and safety regulations, slap on a price tag of £70,000 and Bob's your uncle. But of course there's far more to it than that. They've spent a great deal of time and money refining the car over the original Cobra. The first 289s and 427s were real animals. You were driving them was like playing Russian roulette. You never knew when the bomb was going to go off. And if the Cobra did bite you, you knew it was going to be fatal. But that old Cobra trademark is still here in the superblower. And that's performance. 0 to 60 around 5 seconds. And maximum speed, well, when does your wig blow off and your false teeth fall out? It's still the best adrenaline pump that man has yet invented. Trouble with the AC original for me is the number of replicas on the market. Now, when any Tom, Dick or Harry can build a Sierra-based replica of this car for 12,000 quid, then spending 70,000 on the original starts to lose a bit of the charisma. Now, we promised you an exclusive treat, and here it is. The AC Aseca, the second of the pillars upon which the future wealth and prosperity of AC cars will be based. It's the front end of the Ace. The wheelbase is lengthened by 240 millimeters and designed by Ron Saunders, their chief designer. It's a coupe with aluminium body and a full 4-seater capacity. We first saw it at the motor show last year, that car was a non-runner. They've been working on it here at Byfleet, and now it definitely does run. And we're going to be the first British team allowed to drive it. Now this, after all, is an engineering prototype, so one respects the factory. We're not going to go for ultimate performance figures, but with a 4-cam V8 developing 320 brake, AC estimate the 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds, and a governed maximum of around 155 miles an hour. It's the sort of car that's designed for cruising across continents. Beautifully trimmed inside, as you'd expect. Lovely leatherwork, nice walnut, good instrument display, and all done in-house by AC themselves, which is quite surprising in these days when most components are bought out. Few shakes and rattles in this car, but as I say, you'd expect it in a prototype. And very good room for your mates in the back. It's difficult to form complete road impressions on such a short acquaintance, but very light steering. It feels extremely sure-footed with this width of rubber on the road. Nicely weighted steering, although at full lock with some tyre scrub that indicates they've got a bit of work to do on their steering geometry next. Borg-Warner T45 gearbox with short throw, but they anticipate that when they get into production, automatics will be the preferred option. And in the crowded traffic conditions of Weybridge, it doesn't overheat, it doesn't fart and bang like a performance car. It's starting to show its true colours as a quiet, dignified, gentleman's high-speed carriage. At the back, under the smooth lines, a tailgate lifts to reveal substantial luggage accommodation. There really is room for your golf clubs in here, and on the production versions the seats will fold forward for more luggage capacity. Again, everything beautifully trimmed in suede and carpet. This is still very much a prototype. The tailgate will probably be a bit wider in production cars. Lovely shape. It reminds me of early Bristol 400s, aerodynamic contours, and no bad thing for that. AC say the car will sell for £70,000 when it's launched. They're already working on car number 2, and get your name down on the list, because they're only going to build initially about 1 a week. Now, the wind of change doesn't blow very often through these rolling Malvern hills. It's one of the most traditional places in England, and that's true of the Morgan factory here at Great Malvern. Now, they haven't made a 4-seater Morgan since 1997. That's because the old model just simply would not pass European legislation. Well, now, thanks to twin individual rear seats with headrests, substantial ironmongery on the chassis and a new hood and side screens, the 4-seater is set for a relaunch. Let's see how it goes. Indispensable accessory for driving any open Morgan in this weather. Doesn't look a lot different from the production car except for this extra space at the back. Long side screens that actually make the car amazingly draft free when you're driving along with the top down, and the seats will fold flat to give you extra luggage space if you need it. On the road, it feels much like any Morgan did right back to the 1930s, with that sliding pillar front suspension they refused to get rid of. Solid leaf springs at the back, and that means you feel every bump in the road through the seat of your pants. Although you have to say it rides a lot smoother than some of the cars did in the 50s and 60s when they really were bone-jarringly hard. The old 4-seater was fitted with Rover's 2-litre 16-valve unit, and that engine has been discontinued. For the relaunch, they've chosen Ford's 1.9 Zetec engine, very smooth and responsive, and a Ford 5-speed gearbox that changes gear a lot more easily than the old 4-speed crash Moss gearbox I can remember from Morgan's of the 1950s. Well, most of the changes in the four-seater are easily apparent. These individual bucket seats at the back with detachable headrests replace the old bench seat of the old four-seater that was not only rather stark, it was also, from personal experience, very uncomfortable. You were stuck high up, and of course you collected all the blue bottles and the butterflies that the driver missed. These seats are much lower, so you're sitting much deeper into the car, and apart from anything else, that makes you feel a great deal safer. Obviously the seat belt mountings have made the most change. Inside this leather coating is a steel subframe bolted to the chassis, as we saw, and that also has the mountings for the front seat belts too. So let's see how the new hood goes up. Now, Morgans say that's a lot easier to put up than their old hoods with the lift the dot fasteners and zutz fasteners all around the outside. That's as may be, but it's hardly a smooth one-handed operation when it suddenly starts to throw it down and your girlfriend's complaining about the state of her hair. Can lead to a lot of arguments.